The answer to the question whether you should start your design in Figma and Webflow is actually so easy and obvious. However, so many people get this wrong. So in this video, I'm not only going to tell you the answer, which is Figma, but I'm also going to give you a demo so that you can really see what I'm talking about and that you can start your next design project the right way, like a pro. Here's the secret to great design. The designer has probably tried a bunch of ideas, and I mean a lot of ideas, probably way more ideas than you are trying. And that is because you never know at the beginning of a project what layout is going to work, what fonts and colors, and you need to experiment. Let me show you an example and then demonstrate why it's so much easier to try more ideas in Figma rather than in Webflow. So here's a website that I've built a while ago, and there's a video that you can watch if you want to see how I designed and built this website. Now, when I started this project, I didn't know this is going to be the layout that I'm going to go with, right? So I wanted to try a few different ideas to see which one I liked more, right? Actually, I tried a lot of different layouts until I got to the one that I finally liked. Now, when you're playing around with Figma, as you can see here, I'm trying a lot of different ideas, and it's very, very easy in Figma. It takes seconds to go from one idea to another. Let me show you an example, right? I have this frame here. I'm just duplicating it, and now I can try to move things around, right? So I can decide, well, let's take typography, let's break it down and bring it here, make it bigger. And I can really very easily experiment, right? Make this smaller, left align, and so forth. And it basically takes a second to get from this design to this design. So it took me a second to try a new idea. But now let's take a look at Webflow, right? Let's see in Webflow how long it would take to get from something like this into something like this, right? So I have this heading here in my project, but now I actually have to start thinking how I structure this, right? They are bottom aligned to the bottom of the hero section. That means I need to wrap them and put them inside of a flex box. I need to break them down into 3 elements. And I also have to start thinking about responsiveness. Wait, is this type is going to get smaller and bigger? Because these decisions implement how I size them up here inside of Webflow, right? So I can't just, copy and paste this element and leave this, just typography, just like I did over there in Figma, because now I have to, this is not the same class. If this needs to be bigger, now I even have to start spending energy thinking, how do I name this class? Typography. And remember, I'm starting to create classes and I don't even know if I'm going to use this, right? So I'm calling this typography demo, and then I'm starting to make this bigger, but now again, I have to start thinking whether this is going to be responsive or not going to be responsive. So now just to create this layout, I'm going to have to create like maybe 4 or 5 different styles just to implement this. And again, this is because Webflow is an implementation of code to your designs, and it's not ideal to experiment rapidly. And the fact that this is going to take me now 30 to 3 minutes just to see one idea, while in Figma it took me like 10 seconds to explore an idea, that means that at the end of the day, I will be trying way less ideas if I'm checking out ideas by already implementing them in Webflow. Let me give you another example. And the example is I want to try different fonts, right? Because again, I'm not sure about the fonts. It's very easy in Figma to just duplicate this and then open up the fonts, all of the fonts that I have installed in my computer, and I have a big database of fonts to work with. But what happens if I want to try a different font here in Webflow? Well, obviously I have a small list of fonts that are already installed in Webflow, but if I want to add another font from my computer, which is obviously not in this project right now, I'm going to have to go to the project settings. I'm going to have to go now and start uploading custom fonts, right? And upload them. And it's going to take me like 5 minutes now just to test one font. And as you can see, I want to test 20 different fonts, 30 different fonts. So multiply this 2, 3, 4 minutes per one font just to check how it's seeing. Again, it's too slow to check a lot of different ideas. And here's one of the most important things that you can obviously visually see here in Figma. The way that we make design decisions is by comparing. We're looking at 2 options side by side, and then we decide as designers, this one looks better. And the thing about Webflow is I am only looking at my single implementation, and it will be very, very difficult to judge this versus that, because remember, it took me like 5 minutes just to get into this specific implementation. Now to see what, compared to what we had before, I'm either going to have to undo all the way back. And then, it's not ideal. I can't compare them side by side. So it's not a great platform for me to compare my design decisions and understand how to get to my best design solution. Lastly, one more thing that I can do here in Figma, and here's an example, is try to storyboard interactions. So here, for example, I wanted to showcase what happens when, I hover on top of these links or I click them, and then the image, for example, here I clicked family, and then it's kind of like masking out and replacing the image. So very quickly, I storyboard an idea for an interaction, an animation on the website. This, again, to build this in Webflow, that's probably going to take maybe like an hour. Even if you're very, very fast with Webflow, it's going to take you time to think about how you lay them out, how you mask them, how you create the interaction. So to test out this idea in Figma took me like 2-3 minutes just to visualize what I'm trying to do here and see if I like this idea or not, versus going and spending 1 hour actually implementing the idea in code just to see if I like it. In conclusion, when you're working in Figma, you can work so fast, you can actually get into the zone and be focused on your design decisions because you don't spend time and mental energy thinking about how these decisions are going to be implemented in code. You basically delay that to a later stage in the design process. So if you think that you're saving time by actually getting started inside of Webflow, I think that you're not only end up spending more time, but you're actually going to end up with a worse design because you didn't actually check and compare a lot of design decisions. So start in Figma and then move to Webflow. And if you're wondering what is the best way to move your designs from Figma to Webflow, make sure you check this video that I did, and I'll see you on the next video.